So this is our project on osteopenia and osteoporosis. My name is Jack Wengren.
Nolan Collins.
Harris School.
And Andres Mejia.
As a quick overview for these two types of diseases, osteopenia and osteoporosis are both varying levels of decreased density in people's bones. So osteoporosis is more characterized by this lack of density causing frequent fractures, consistent fractures, stress fractures, and both of them display compromised bone strength due to the loss of mass and structure from a decrease in bone density. These are normally diagnosed through X-rays or CT scans to measure the bone mineral content, and then those results from the individual patient's test are compared to a young and healthy population to receive a T-score, and an age-adjusted population for a Z-score. And then that T-score is used to determine how far off in standard deviations they are from a young, healthy population. And then through that, they can determine whether someone has osteopenia or osteoporosis, as you can see in the picture on the right. You can go to the next one. The disease process. So bone is a living tissue that constantly goes through modeling, remodeling, deconstruction, and reconstruction. When you damage your bones, then it needs to go through a process of remodeling where it's taking away the damaged bone and repairing with new. Some important cells in this process are osteoblasts, the one forming the cells, osteoclasts, the ones resorbing them, and then an osteocyte, which is former osteoblast cells that are trapped within the matrix, within the bone matrix. And these are found to be important initiators and drivers in a lot of cell signaling processes or other ways that our bodies continue to remodel this bone. So the development of osteoporosis or osteopenia first and then osteoporosis is largely due to any sort of improper function within these cells. So once these cells start destroying more bone than they're building, then that's when we get into a situation of lower density. And this can be as a result of lots of things in someone's life. On the right side here, there's a few different causes that could lead to osteoporosis or just decaying bone density, including impaired immune function or the presence of certain things in people's guts or even lack of exercise.
So some of the causes from a much larger standpoint, there's a primary cause, which was just noted above, is the natural bone loss during adulthood. While secondary causes include like sedentary lifestyle, smoking, alcohol abuse, thin body habitus, which is a BMI of under 18.5 kilograms per meter squared. That's basically a very low BMI. And some causes due to disease include anorexia, hyperparathyroidism, malabsorption syndromes, renal failure, and medications that could also cause osteopenia and osteoporosis include glucocorticoids, anti-epileptics, valproic acid, and chemotherapy agents. Osteopenia and osteoporosis are typically characterized by a decrease in the osteon size and thin trabecula with enlarged canals having very narrow spaces within them. In the US, over 34 million Americans are affected by this, with females having a fourfold prevalence compared to males. However, the males are more likely to demonstrate secondary causes listed above of smoking, due to smoking and high rates of alcohol abuse. 54% of menopausal women are osteopenic, and an additional 30% are osteoporotic. And by 80 years of age, that figure goes down to 27% for osteopenic and over 70% for osteoporotic. Worldwide, Asians have the lowest T-scores by region. This is not the prevalence, it's just the severity of the disease. So they probably have more osteoporotic people than the other regions in general, while Australia has the highest rate of incidence, with over 42% of men and 51% of women being affected by low bone mineral density. India has an overall incidence of 52% of its entire population. And even worse is the associated burden of disease, most commonly noticed by fragility fractures, with Europe having the highest rate of fragility factors compared to the Western Pacific, Southeast Asia, and the Americans. Africa has the highest prevalence of 39.5%, and this is mostly caused by hypovitaminosis D, which is a significant lack of vitamin D, which is very necessary for bone remodeling.
Osteoporosis is a very common disease that is seen in all age groups, genders, and races. It's currently estimated that more than 200 million people are suffering with osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is more common in women and older age groups. The prevalence of osteoporosis and osteopenia has been growing with the aging population that is living longer. Since we are living longer, more people are at higher risk. The figure to the right displays how the prevalence of osteoporosis has grown in adults aged 50 or older. It's important to note the higher percentage of prevalence in the female group as opposed to the male group. Can you go to the next one? Major risk factors in developing these diseases are low reproductive hormones. Low testosterone in men and low estrogen in women can lead to higher risk to develop osteopenia. A very big risk factor for women is actually postmenopause. This is because of the significant drop in estrogen. Because of the significant drop, their risk is even higher than men. Another big risk is heavy drinking and smoking. Low body weight and older age are both big risks for osteopenia and osteoporosis because they are linked to having lower bone density, lower bone mass. The figure to the right displays the increase of osteoporosis by age and the difference between prevalence in women and men and how it grows as people get even older.
For the diagnosis process, bone density measurement is by a DXA scanning machine. This is usually at the hip and spine, and it is considered the most reliable way to diagnose osteopenia or osteoporosis. As Nolan commented earlier, these scans are made and then they are compared to a healthy and young individual. And it is through standard deviations and t-tests, it could be seen how severe the deformation is. There's peripheral DXA scanners, which could measure the bone densities in the heel and wrist. The DXA scan measures the minerals and other contents inside of the bone. Another tool could be x-rays or spine CTs to get a good estimate of bone health and density. For treatment, there really is no solid cure for osteopenia or porosis. Clinicians can only try to preserve bone density as much as possible. Bisphosphonates are a group of drugs which are usually the first choice for clinicians. They help by trying to prevent the loss of bone density. As well, calcium treatment is another common response. Clinicians urge patients to get at least 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day. As well, exercise and vitamin D supplements are also urged by clinicians to try and fight the loss of bone density.
So a few questions we have here, just what region is most affected by osteopenia and osteoporosis, and what is the possible explanation? Why are most postmenopausal women at a great risk for osteoporosis and osteopenia? And what is the primary cause of osteopenia and osteoporosis? Thank you very much. That's what we have. That was our presentation.